You are listening to the Open Mic Night Podcast with Mike Weger and Colin Ball. OMN is supported by listeners like you. To become a patron and support OMN, head over to patreon.com/OMN Podcast. Again, patreon.com/OMN Podcast.
Welcome back to another week of Open Mic Night. Really glad that you guys could join us this week. This week, it's all about Taylor Swift changing the whole Apple Music policy, some other news, tips, and tricks for you guys. So stick around. Let's have a fun show. Alrighty, so like I said, welcome back to Open Mic Night, your Apple-focused podcast that brings you everything you need to know about Apple, your news, your tips, your tricks, just about anything we can think of that's slightly related to Apple, we will tell you guys. I'm your host, Mike Weger, and I'm glad to be here again. And this week, actually in studio, if we want to call this a studio, our little home studio, but we are together, Mr. Colin Ball. Colin, it's been a week, and has it been exciting or anything?
Yeah, there's actually been a lot happening at work. So,
oh, sweet.
I mean, I won't get into that because I feel like I want work to stay at work.
But just generally good vibes happening at the work.
Good things.
Good. That's always good to hear. My week was just a normal week. We still had CWS going on. We talked about that last week, how Omaha really comes alive during this week, and it did. And the food truck by the work, that's the best part about College World Series. The food trucks are all out and about, and they park right next to my work. So I get some good food throughout the week, so that was kind of the big excitement in my world was some high-quality lunches. So this week, there was some big news, though, with some Apple stuff and some popular music artists, formerly known as, or currently known as, Taylor Swift. So I guess we'll just jump right into the news. No need to get into anything. Oh, I guess real quick, we do want to thank the people at WLMNradio.com. Roger, everyone over there is fantastic, and we want to thank them for streaming us live. And I said this in the pre-show to you guys who were live on the radio earlier, but if you are from Grafton, send us an email, a tweet, something. Let us know you guys are listening to us out in Grafton, and that would be awesome. I just want to hear from one of you guys if you guys are doing that. And of course, for all you listeners, I would love to hear from you if you have feedback, questions, concerns, comments, ideas, anything like that. You can always send them over to Mike at WegerTech, WIEGER Tech.com. I love them, appreciate them, and I love getting that sort of feedback. We also had a few questions in the Facebook group that we'll talk about tonight. I'll put those down at the end of the show, but thank you guys for keep putting stuff in there. I like that you guys are still using that group. Okay, so back into the news. So Taylor Swift, let's just say, maybe wasn't too happy about the way Apple Music was set up. And we talked about this, I guess it's been kind of our lead story, for the past 2 weeks. And it won't get away, but just in general, she wasn't happy about the free trial. Is that right?
Yes, the free trial was literally a free trial. So everyone who got to listen to it, or everyone who signed up for it, you get those 3 months free. Unfortunately, while you're listening to it free, that is before today, the writers, producers, artists, whoever it may be that has their music being listened to, there was no payback.
Right, exactly. So the fact that those, and I guess I am really loud right now. I'm sorry about that, just noticing. Hopefully we'll turn that down a little bit. But yeah, so the fact that the music industry wasn't getting paid, and we talked about that last week, that was kind of the big thing. Apple said that the way they kind of compensate for that was by paying more than the industry standard when it comes to paying them out after the free trial. But Taylor Swift said, no, not good enough. Yeah. She wrote an open letter, and she called it To Apple Love Taylor. And it was kind of an open letter which expressed her concerns to Apple, and what do you know? Apple actually changed.
Yeah, very quickly too.
Yeah.
That was it was blogged on Tumblr. It was on her Tumblr on Sunday.
I just know it was this weekend. So was it Sunday?
Yeah, and then Eddie,
real quick.
Eddie Q put out a tweet Monday morning saying, not basically apologizing, but at the same time just kind of saying, change in services we will be paying artists during that trial period.
Yeah, and then he said, we hear you, Taylor, and indie artists love Apple. So a play off, I guess, what she had said to them originally. So I did not expect Apple to kind of change their policy on this, but I mean, is this something where Taylor Swift has enough clout that they needed to change, or was it something that Apple might have been toying with already and maybe just needed to be pushed over the edge?
I mean, I think it might have been something that they were toying with already and just needed to be pushed, because as much as Taylor Swift has a say, Spotify, who right now is the largest music streaming service in the world, at least I would believe. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that. I'll put an asterisk.
No, yeah, I think they are. I think you're right on that one.
So if that's the case, she left them and Spotify was like, whatever, we don't care. We don't need your music. We have enough listeners listening to everyone else other than you. And I feel like Apple, they want to keep Taylor Swift happy, maybe, seeing as how she's already left one. They don't want to lose her because they know how much money she brings in. So maybe it was a combination of her clout and them just being like, you know what, maybe we should just pay everyone. Right.
Or kind of maybe a direct, like, okay, you guys were all saying that, Apple Music is being done before. We were saying that when Apple Music first came out, we were talking about how, there's Spotify, Pandora, all these places are already doing this. So maybe Apple's like, you know what, maybe we'll take this chance to not be Spotify and say, hey, we're listening to you. We'll actually pay you and we'll make this right. I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons why they could do it. I do think, obviously, it's a big PR move, and it's a good PR move. It's not going to cost. Apple has the money. It's not a money thing for Apple.
No.
It's definitely not. So I think it was more of just this is the way we're doing things. And then when Taylor Swift said that she didn't like it, they're like, okay, you know what? Let's give it to them. Let's be the good company coming back and saving the day and making the change. It actually played out pretty well for them, actually, when you think about how it all shook out.
I mean, in addition to that, I will say the fact that before they had even released Apple Music, how they had gone to the FTC, I believe it was the FTC, asking for different, they were asking for the rights to a lot of music, basically trying to kill the free streaming services, such as Spotify, or Spotify not free, but the other streaming services, saying that Apple would get exclusivity. And I'm wondering if them doing this, saying that they'll pay people and that they're kind of playing nice, is them trying to like distance themselves from them trying to like be the bad guy.
Yeah, no, I would definitely. Right on. Exactly. But I guess we'll see where this goes in the future, and we'll see how much money they actually make during the free trial. Apple's not promising anything. They'll say they are going to pay them for this free trial, but how much money they're actually going to make. Now, the interesting thing is, at least the reports I saw, they're not changing the actual amount they pay after the trial. So they're still going to be paying them that higher amount. So even though they are paying them now for the trial, they didn't lower that amount, which is the whole time Apple's been saying that's how they were going to compensate for not paying for the trial. So it's kind of a win-win for the music industry. You get paid during the free trial, and you still get that high level of pay even afterwards during the paid subscription service. So kind of cool. Yeah. Very nice. All right, so the next story we have, and this just broke today, because today was kind of the first time you could put HomeKit onto your phone. So this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. Now, I haven't played with this, so this is all just an opinion article by the Wall Street Journal that we are relaying, because I have no experience with this, neither does Colin. We both have not used these devices, but what they're saying is that HomeKit already needs some work. And HomeKit, like we've talked about in the past, is Apple's version of something, a piece of software that can control all of your home connected devices, your Wi-Fi lights, your switches, all of that sort of stuff, your thermostat, all can come in and connect through HomeKit. Now, the Wall Street Journal is saying the problem with it is that Siri, the integration between Siri and HomeKit, is a little wonky, and it doesn't work the way it should. Every time this editor was talking to Siri, Siri didn't know his devices. She was like, oh, he said something about turn on my air filter. He had an air filter in the house that was apparently a Wi-Fi ready one, a HomeKit ready one. And she said, oh, I can show you where to buy air filters around you. So she wasn't really smart. She didn't know that he didn't want to buy one. He already has one. He just wants to turn it on. And this, obviously we can expect that HomeKit's going to be a little rough first coming out. This is just the very first release of HomeKit. Yeah. But does it kind of surprise you that we're already 14 minutes in? The story just broke 14 minutes ago. The first day we're getting reports that Siri's not working well with it.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
Really?
To me, it's probably not even a beta test yet. They're probably alpha testing this right now. This is the first iteration of the first generation. So for Apple, or probably not, they wouldn't release literally the literal first thing, but at the same time, this is the first time they're toying with it.
Right.
To me, I mean, I could be mean about Apple about this very much so, but I understand the fact a lot of people are wanting home automation, and it's just not going to be perfect. Siri, for a while, I mean, we were talking before, it has gotten better where it picks up words and kind of understands like dictation a little bit better. But I feel like in some instances, especially with HomeKit, there's gonna be some breaks.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was going to talk about, is that when we were talking about, Siri not being perfect right away, it is true. Siri's gotten a lot better, and I usually have a pretty good experience with Siri. I didn't used to, but ever since, first of all, my carrier got LTE in my city, because Siri for me a lot of the times was just having bad connection. But now she's getting a little bit better, but it surprises me because Siri is so functional, and she does a lot of things that you would think that really the HomeKit aspect of this, what I didn't really like about the article was it didn't really focus on HomeKit. It focused on Siri with HomeKit. So HomeKit might work great. HomeKit might actually be working okay and a great way to control all of your home devices. They might just need to update the back end of Siri to work better with HomeKit. So I think it's a little early to judge. I think the article is a little misleading on the title because I don't think HomeKit really needs a rework. I think it's more of maybe just the integration between the two.
Yeah.
But I was going to use this time to actually talk about, I've been tweeting. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you've noticed that, and on the Facebook group, I posted that my Amazon Echo was arriving today. And so it just came today. If you have not heard of the Amazon Echo, definitely check it out. Go to Amazon.com, and on their homepage, kind of funny, I didn't know this, but today, if you go to Amazon, they have a big, huge announcement that the Echo is now not an invite-only item. You can actually just buy it. They're still not going to have shipment until mid-July, so their inventory is still low because of all the invite people that they just sent them out to. But you can buy it in public now. So the Amazon Echo is a home. I don't even know. I want to call it automation, kind of a home assistant.
That's a good term.
If you think of a cylinder that sits in your apartment, your home, whatever, it's got a really nice speaker to it, surprisingly, for how small it is. Imagine Siri on a hardware that just sits there and it's always listening. So right now, I think the door is closed, so it won't hear me. But if I was to say, Alexa, what is the weather? She would go ahead and tell me what the weather was. She can control all of my home automation lights. That's why I wanted to bring it up now, is because in anticipation of getting the Echo, I bought 5 Philips Hue Lux bulbs. So the Lux are the ones that are just white, so they're a lot cheaper than the Philips Hue multicolor bulbs. So it's just, I have 5 bulbs, and I have one in my living room, my bedroom, my dining room, my balcony, and my laundry room. And so when you get the Amazon Echo, you can say, hey, Alexa, turn the living room light off. Turn the bedroom light to 50%, whatever you want to do. And the fact that she's always listening and you don't have to press a button and you can be anywhere in your apartment or home and she can hear you. She has really good hearing. It's called this far field microphones, I think is what it's called. I don't know the exact technical name for it, but she's got an array of 7 microphones on the top that can pick you up from pretty much anywhere. I can yell from our bathroom or our bedroom and she can pick it up. So it's pretty impressive. She sits in our kitchen. But my whole point of bringing this up was that she does a fantastic job. Of course, the one time Colin gets here and we tell her to do something and she messed that up. But other than that, I'd say so far she's had about a 90% success rate getting exactly what we want when we say it. So if I say, like I just said, turn the living room lights on, she goes, okay. And then all our light just turns on. So in that sense, the home automation sphere, when you use something like Alexa, is rock star.
Yeah. I have this big smile on my face because I just keep hearing you say she.
Oh, well, I mean, it is a she, but yeah.
It brings up these weird images of 2001: A Space Odyssey where Hal says that he can't do something, and it's just one of those moments you're going to say something and Alexa's just going to go, "No, Mike, I can't do that for you."
Right.
It's ugh.
Well, and that's the weird thing, because the Echo has such a nice speaker on it. Her voice is very natural and rich sounding. It's kind of weird. She does sound very, very human-like.
It's Siri-esque, but a little less robotic.
That's exactly how I would describe it. Yeah, a little more human style of a voice, not as robotic. Yeah, perfect way to describe it. And that speaker has good bass to it. So I think just the fact, if you plugged your phone into a nice speaker, Siri might sound a little bit better instead of coming from the speaker on the phone. But either way, the Amazon Echo is, I think, how home automation should be. When I think of using HomeKit and having to have my phone with me, first of all, wherever I'm walking around the house, holding that home button, activating Siri, and getting her going. That's a lot more steps than I want to do. I love, just in the 3 hours that I've had the Echo, just being able to walk around and talk to it wherever. And she does a lot more things. She does assistant-like things. She can add stuff to your shopping list. She can do simple equations. She can tell you how many quarts are in a gallon, a lot of stuff like that, which is nice when your hands are tied up. So if you were cooking and you needed to know, okay, how many cups are in or whatever, you can just ask her without having your device out. Yeah. So it reminds me of Jarvis. It's the start of Jarvis. And I was really hoping you could rename it Jarvis. You can't right now. You can only call it Alexa or Amazon. But it kind of feels like it. I'm just kind of sitting there and asking her to do things.
I find it to be really cool. Actually, Amazon definitely won the battle for home automation.
At least to be first. Yeah.
To be first. And I mean, so far with what it can do, there's no saying or there's no knowing so far what home automation can become.
Right.
'Cause, a lot of people have where you can on your phone automatically lock your doors and stuff like that when you leave. I know Cox is trying to push that in Omaha right now, which to me, I'm like, I would never pay. They probably charge out the backside.
And I would never want to pay my cable company any more than I already do. They already rob me every single month. I see the bill coming. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm paying you for anymore. Honestly, I get internet and really cruddy channels on the TV.
But Amazon being out in front of that is putting themselves into a new. I think they're putting themselves into a new sphere of kind of being within the home.
Very much so, yeah.
Amazon Prime was a good first step, kind of trying to compete with Netflix and trying to compete with Hulu. And I've used Amazon Prime in the last month watching shows, which I've been kind of surprised how much I've used Amazon Prime. Which
really?
For the most part,
using it more than you used to. Has the selection gotten a lot better? Okay,
the selection's gotten better. They have their own shows now. I've started to watch the show Transparent, but kind of fell off mainly because with an Xbox One, you kind of find other things to start doing and wasting your time that way. But it's just one of those things where Amazon is trying to take those steps. And I think Jeff Bezos is he's almost becoming the next Steve Jobs, where he's trying to find the innovative product without kind of bombarding you, when Amazon can be kind of a bombardment.
Right. And it makes sense for them to want to be in the home and connected to everything you do. They sell everything. They sell your services. They sell you products, the whole subscribe and save model, where they'll sell you, your toilet paper. If you want that delivered to your apartment once a month, you can do that with Amazon. Yep. So having them all connected makes a lot of sense. But it was a device I never would have thought would have come out of Amazon. They kind of shocked everyone. They were first. And I'm wondering how off guard they caught companies like Google and Apple. Because, when you think about it, I would have thought that if Google would have known this was coming out, that we would have seen something, even a hint of something at Google I.O. hinting towards, hey, doing something with home automation. We're going to have some sort of hardware that connects. But, I just think, they knocked it out of the park with the Echo. So,
well, Google's first step, because I've said this before. Does Google own Nest? Is Nest a Google company now?
I said I had corrected. I thought I was correcting you and saying no, they didn't. But then someone in the chat room said that no, they do.
Okay.
So you were right. You were right the whole time.
So Google owns Nest, and Nest owns Dropcam, which Nest just released the new Nest camera, which is just a skinnier Dropcam, truthfully.
Right.
But Google was definitely trying to take the steps to get into home automation by getting Nest, and now automatically getting Dropcam along with it. And to me, it's one of those things where Amazon was like, you can have your thermostat, you can have your camera. We're going to have the thing that's going to run it all.
Yes, exactly. It was almost like the focus for the other companies was a little misguided.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree. And you look at HomeKit and how Apple has been, first of all, we heard of HomeKit a long time ago before we've ever even actually had it in our hands. And still, what were they focusing on? Just like you said, okay, we're trying to get all these devices, everything like that. But it's really how you interact with those devices that makes it what it is. Mm-hmm. So I had the Philips Hue lights for, 2-3 weeks before I had the Echo. And it was a pain. It was a total pain. I did not want to have to whip out my phone. Oh, I did. It was cool. It was nice. I set some up on if this, then that. But having to take out my phone and to change the lights was a hassle. So in my head, I'm like, if that's how HomeKit works with Siri, I have to get out my phone every time I want to do something. See, and that's just where the Echo makes so much sense. Having a device that's always listening. It is Jarvis. There's a reason that, the Iron Man guy, what's his name?
Tony Stark.
There's a reason that he just talks and it just happens, because that's the most natural.
Why don't you know your Marvel
I
characters?
know. It wasn't coming to me. I know. But yeah, so I think that this will be a fun little race we see for the next year. But for right now, Amazon's got it locked down. And the best thing I like about the Echo is that they've been constantly upgrading it. So even though it's been an invite only for the past 5 months, they've been adding more and more integration. So Pandora built right in. So I can just say, hey, Alexa, play my Luke Bryan channel on Pandora. And she might have heard me.
Did we do that?
I don't know. My wife's trying to turn Alexa's turning on right now, playing some music in the living room. I'm not sure if she heard me or if she heard Hannah or something.
That was Green Day. That wasn't Luke Bryan.
So I don't know what that was. Anyway, that's fun. So see, she's pretty good, but pretty good at hearing, not hearing what I want to say. But I don't even know where I was going with that. I kind of lost my train of thought now. Thanks, Alexa.
Yeah, no.
Maybe she's not as good as I was saying.
I mean, I think,
or just the focus of the companies being on the software and the hardware.
Yeah,
and
I would say my last thing about it would be Google or Apple. I know a lot of companies don't want to partner with one another, especially the large companies such as Google, Apple, and Amazon. Right. One of them might be smart to
good thought.
Kind of try and tickle Amazon's fancy and see like how much money would it take for us to get this home automation thing together.
Right. Okay, so I remember now what I was talking about. It was how they're always updating.
Yes.
Amazon's always updating, adding Pandora, stuff like that. So you're right. If one of these companies wants to be kind of that next, in that next connection, that could be big. And I would honestly say I think Apple would benefit more than Google, because Apple, being the closed community it is, the thing that I don't like about Alexa so far is that when I'm using her with my Apple devices, I can't just like play something from my Apple. I mean, you can, it's a Bluetooth speaker. I guess I forgot to say that. So you can just Bluetooth any music to it. It's a speaker. But doing other things, having her access my iCloud calendar, she doesn't do that. She accesses Google Calendar. So Google is there a little bit with the connection. But being able to do stuff like that, I would really like to integrate more with my iCloud and stuff. So. Yeah. But that's kind of the update on the home automation front. We'll see where HomeKit goes from here. Obviously, today was kind of the first day that developers had it in their hands. So going forward, I'll be excited to hear the reviews on how it goes. I don't have any HomeKit ready. I don't think, actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if Philips Hue does work with HomeKit or not. I would try it out if I had the option to. But right now with the Amazon Echo, I'm kind of locked in. I love it. That's where I'm going for all my home automation devices. I'm not going to really worry about HomeKit, which is kind of shocking. Until this whole thing happened, I thought I was going to be HomeKit all the way. All right, so our final news story is that the Apple Watch might be getting, obviously it is going to get a big update next year. We know that, all these devices, they get a big upgrade. But one of the things that's rumored is that it's getting a video camera. So having a camera on your watch, this is going to be like something from the movies. This is like from the old school movies.
Have they said where that camera will be rumored to be? Would it be on the face, or would it be kind of like the Samsung? Oh. Is it Samsung? Is it the Samsung Galaxy Gear? Whichever one the watch was, not the little fitness band.
I think that's the Gear. Yeah.
So the Gear.
See, I haven't kept up with all my Android wearables, but no, I don't think they've talked about where it's going to be, because Apple hasn't even really.
Because Samsung's was like, we oddly on like the end of the band,
almost like a camera you'd want to use to like show people stuff.
It would shoot out. It would shoot out, so you could take pictures away from you. And I think like you could try and like flip it around. Sorry, I just hit the microphone. That was a loud boom. But I think you can maybe like turn it around and like take a selfie. But it was one of those things where it kind of looked clunky.
Yeah.
So when I saw that was in the notes, I was thinking like, how is Apple going to make this look good?
I would hope that they would have it on the face.
That would make sense.
The outward facing just, if I'm going to have my arm awkwardly out like that, I can just whip out my phone and do that. Whereas I think having it on the face is a nice thing where you can almost just have a quick conversation with someone via FaceTime or Skype or whatever it is on your wrist.
Exactly.
Which, although it would look super nerdy, I would probably do it more than I would think. As many times I just need to have a quick conversation with someone, and I do use FaceTime a lot, especially with you and my buddy Ian. I'm always if I'm sitting by my computer, I'm usually going to FaceTime. Yeah. If I was out and about and able to do it that quick, I would like it. But
no, I mean, if it was on the face, I would think that would be a great addition, because it would just, it would just make sense. It would just be kind of the next step in the progression of what they do with it.
Right.
There's a lot of things we've talked about at work on our blog a few times. Like at one point there was a blog written about like what the Apple Watch would change in marketing. And I mean, I'd love to see wearables and smartwatches in general, be able to perform actual web searches.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't do that. It's so limited in what you can do that if it were to be able to perform web searches, I feel like after a camera, that would be step 3.
Right.
Being able to look at a website very quickly. Like, yes, it would be difficult to kind of digest a blog or something like that, but being able to look up a website, or at least it would bring up the contact page, being able to like find where they are, what the phone number is, and having that stuff be clickable. To me, that would be a great step.
Yeah. When you said that, that's the first thing I thought of was the contact page. Because how many times you just need, what's Pizza Hut's number? What's their, and if you could just do that real quick. And each company could have like almost like a design specifically for the watch. Like, what do we want to pop up? How do we want to look? Yep. That's a good point. And that's even more of, yes, we need that in the operating system of the watch. But it would also be something on the developers on the back end, in the web. So PTD agreed with you. Thank you. It is the gear. So
there's so many wearables out there right now, and I just wrote something for work about wearables, and my mind is like, it's going everywhere.
But it is the gear. So the one thing they did not mention, which some people were kind of speculating about what it means, is that they didn't mention any increase in battery life. So the rumors are that there's not much increase, but there was a good take on this on the Mac Geek Gab, and I'm going to quote them a lot tonight. Actually, just one more time after this, but I really do like their podcast. If you like Apple stuff and you want to dive more technically into what happens with all the code and everything like that with your Apple products, Mac Geek Gab is awesome. Mac Geek Gab, if I can say it slowly. And that's by the guys over at the Mac Observer. But what they were talking about was, just because we don't have longer battery life, as long as they're not saying it's shorter, that means they're making improvements. Because obviously they're adding on a video camera, they're adding on more stuff that's on the watch. So they're going to increase the battery. Well, it's just we might not get more time out of it because of the extra taxing things you're going to be doing with it with the upgrade.
And honestly, when it comes to battery life is dependent on not using any applications.
Right.
They judge battery life on if you just have it so that when you flip it up, the thing comes on, you turn it down, it turns off.
Yeah, it's a standby mode. Like whatever it is in standby.
If it's not changing at all, then they are making improvements. They are putting a battery that's going to be able to keep up with you and with what you're doing so that you don't all of a sudden you're in the middle of something and it's like, oh, what's going on? Like, why did it turn off?
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would think that they are going to make improvements to the battery. Yes, we might not see like more hours in battery life, but we are going to see that, oh yeah, hey, look, I can FaceTime from my watch now and the battery still lasts just as long. Yeah. So, so that's with the upgrade. I wouldn't be too worried about that. And I am kind of excited though about the video camera. I want to know though, I kind of been excited to see what version 2 has in store for the Apple Watch. Okay, so we're getting maybe a video camera. I want to know some more stuff because version 2 has always been a very big sweet spot for Apple.
Yeah.
When they had the second generation of the iPhone, the second generation of the iPad, there's a lot of improvements that come with that second generation that make it a lot more appealing. Now, obviously, this is kind of a hard area to be in because, a watch isn't something you're going to buy every year, like a phone. And so people that just spent $300, $400, $500, even more, up into the thousands of dollars on a watch probably aren't going to want to upgrade. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how Apple introduces their next generation because they don't want to make it something that you have to get.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to make your consumer base feel that way.
Well, I would say there is that group. Obviously there's that group that's like watch aficionados that love their watches.
Right.
So that group obviously is probably going to be willing to spend that $350 to $700 depending. Not many people are buying the $15,000 Amazon on the brain. The Apple Edition, which I think that's what it's called, the gold one, that's an exorbitant amount of money. Not many people are going to be doing that.
No.
So, like, more people are going to be buying it. I would think. I would see people doing that. One update I'd like to see is getting rid of the app cloud.
Oh, just the overall interface, like on the home. Yeah.
I mean, I liked that they were going with a very Apple way of doing it. It was something new. It was kind of a new way of thinking about it. But when I've seen people wearing it around, or there's some people at work with it, I'm just like, I mean, I got like fat fingers. So for me, I would probably just be like, come on.
And even just the size of it. So I was down at my sister's graduation party this weekend, and one of her friends had just gotten it as a graduation present. And so, of course, I was playing with it and looking at it. And I asked him to like, oh, what other apps do you use? And he literally, so he opened up and it was that cloud thing with all the cluster of apps.
Yeah.
And he had to get it like 4 inches from his face to kind of see it because of how small those icons are. So yeah, I agree. It's not the best interface. But that's exactly what we always see from Apple is they come out with something, they try to be new, innovative, and then they're like, you know what? That didn't really work out too well. Let's swap this out because it was a first generation idea. We didn't really know how to make it work well on a watch. Everyone is still trying to figure out what do you do with such limited space?
Yeah.
And it was a good attempt. And I think the problem is too, people don't use the crown as much as they thought people would.
Yeah.
Because when they show all the demonstrations of it, they show people scrolling around through the crown. And I just don't, when I'm looking at people using the watch, they're not doing that. They're touching it.
Well,
it's just more natural to touch the watch.
And I mean, inherently, the crown on a watch changes the time.
Right.
So you don't think of the crown as a helpful piece of technology. You think of it as like, oh, I leave this alone, or else like when I pull it out, I can turn the time.
Right.
But I mean, when
you have to completely retrain the brain to have it be something that's useful.
And that's going to take a while. For Apple and for what they've done already, that probably won't take that long. But I will say, if they change the cloud, go to what they used to do on the iPod Nano. Where it was just
I didn't have one of those.
It was just 4 icons, and then you could just like go through screens. Yes, it's going to add like a little bit more where you're going to have to slide, but to me, it's just like it makes sense.
Right.
That's what you do on your phone anyway. You kind of have to slide through stuff.
Well, and it's not like there's 100 apps that people are using on their watch like there is on the phone. So the cloud is great if you literally did have all those apps. But I mean, you're going to be using probably maybe 4 to 6 apps all the time. You're going to need your watch face, maybe Uber, Instagram, whatever you use, Twitter. So you're going to have so that 4 icon thing, that's a good idea. I forgot about the Nano. The Nano was that exact size. They've already played with this space before. Exactly. And it looked a lot better, honestly. And Jim in the chat room says he totally agrees. Super ugly and not user-friendly at all. And that's what I've seen from it. I mean, I would agree with Colin, and I didn't think about replacing that. And that's all the sort of stuff that, too, we can see with software.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So hardware-wise, though, I think the video camera and the overall style, I was surprised how much I liked it. I've gone back and forth with this, but when I actually held one in my hands and played with it, it's not a bad looking device. Now, I played with the 42 millimeter?
Yep.
Is the bigger one.
42.
Yeah. And the 42 felt just right for someone with my size of hands. It might actually, I mean, for you.
It would make sense.
Well, it might feel a little bit small even. Because on me, I was like, ooh, that doesn't seem as big as I thought it would.
Yeah.
And I don't have very big fingers or anything like that and no big hands. So I don't know. It might feel a little bit small for you. So maybe they might even have a bigger size. I don't know. We're all just speculating right now on what they would have. But yeah, well, I guess we'll see what they have. And also, they're just now coming out with the second version of the operating system for the watch already. Yeah. So we're going to get developers working on native apps for the watch, which will make it look a lot better already. And then we'll see what Apple does with the hardware side and then also what they do to kind of correct all the other stuff that we've been talking about. All right, so that is going to do it for the news, and we are going to move into our next segment, which is the seed.
Can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. Can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward.
The seed, the section of the show where we do a This Week in Apple. What happened in Apple in the history? We love looking back at what Apple did in the past. And so this week we're looking back all the way to 2003. Now, this is back when Apple used to actually attend. This is back when they did their WWDC. It was kind of at the beginning stages of that when they were starting to release a lot of products at WWDC. Whereas now they've kind of focused and shifted that to be a more software-driven event. They did used to release some hardware back then. And so one of the big releases they had in 2003 was that 2 GHz, the Power Mac G5, which it was actually the first 64-bit desktop, and it was one of the world's best desktop computers at the time. It was kind of rare to see a 64-bit desktop computer. It was the first one. It was exciting and new and powerful, and that was one of their most successful computers. And then they also released at the same time the iSight, which if you guys remember, it was kind of that cylinder-shaped webcam. It was one of the first webcams, and that came out. It was a FireWire webcam, which was a little bit different, exciting, interesting, because that also complemented the iChat release. So iChat came out in 2003. That was your chat client. You could do video chat between, and I don't know, it might not have been, did you ever use iChat? We used it all the time, mainly because we all had Macs in our high school. So it was a few years later when we got into high school in 2005. So 2 or 3 years later, we used iChat a little bit because we all had Macs. But iChat came out. You could use AIM with it. It was kind of the Mac client for doing your chatting. And so that iSight was kind of the, video conferencing. Of course, it was like really small and bad quality. But hey, it was web chatting. It was doing what we're doing right now, where you're streaming yourself on the internet. And as well, Safari 1.0. So this connects back to, I think it was last week's conversation we had.
A few weeks ago.
Was it a few weeks? Okay. When Internet Explorer was being pulled from the Mac and Apple had to respond and do something. So Apple released Safari 1.0, which was a browser that was exclusive to the Mac at that time, which now you can actually get Safari for the Windows.
Safari is every single web-based client for mobile.
Yes.
So Safari,
the framework
is
for it, yes.
very
right.
deep.
Right. Colin's got me there. Good one. You're right. Yeah. The framework is used for everything mobile, but back then it was exclusively for the Mac before they further developed it.
Yeah.
So that was back in 2003. WWDC has always been a big event. I love it, and obviously in 2003 it was one of their best years with some of the best hardware and software coming out. And that was a power punch of a WWDC.
Yeah.
You think about it. iChat, the new PowerBook, all that stuff. Wow, it was a great year for Apple in 2003. All right, so we're gonna move on to the core. We're gonna shake it up a little bit, but let's just go ahead and get into it.
Our camera's not turning on. We're making mistakes. We're fixing them as fast as we can, but we take it in the chin. That's part of what we do. And we went through the roof about this.
Okay, so the core, and you guys have come to know the core as the time of the show where we get in our Apple rants. We talk about the core issues of Apple that are frustrating us. But you know what? We've kind of exhausted those, at least for me, for the past few weeks. I want to switch it up. We were getting a little negative. It's all right. It's okay. We were getting a little negative. So, for you Apple fanboys out there that watch me and were disappointed, we're going to switch it up this week. We're going to get to the core issues of what makes Apple great and what makes them a successful company. Now, this might be a 2-week series because this week I want to talk about just general thoughts, and then I kind of wanted to get into some of their business practices that Apple's done that's made them successful. But that'll be another week. We'll split that into a different show. But this week, and Colin probably has some input too. But I wrote the show notes for this section this week.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Colin's going to sit back and relax here. But no. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because I wanted to get Colin's intake. But the thing I love about Apple, and I think one of their best strengths, and this started with Steve Jobs, and it started with, honestly, kind of the cockiness of Steve Jobs, thinking that he was the smartest guy ever, which helped him to create Apple and have it be a company that they don't care what you think and what you think you want. Apple's like, you know what you think you want doesn't really matter. We know what you want, and we know what you're going to want, and we're just going to do it.
Yeah.
And that all started with Steve Jobs. And he's almost flat out said that before. And so the fact that Apple has never cared and they've always just done what they want has led them to have some of the most innovative products and to have some products that other companies have tried to do, but because Apple just does it their own way, that's what's made it successful. I think about the iPad as a perfect example. How many times had tablets been tried in the past, not been successful, and Apple comes in, does it the way they want, does nothing with a keyboard, doesn't try to be fancy, just a real plain and simple, and it takes off. Yeah. And it's huge.
I feel like everyone tried to do it. Even BlackBerry tried getting on the tablet game, and it was one of those things where everyone knew. It's not that everyone was looking at it and being like, "Oh, Apple does this better." It was just there was almost too much that was coming along with everything else. Apple has always been very, here's what's on the iPad. You can add what you want, but here's what it is.
Right. And look at the phone. So we had the first iPhone. Yeah. Everyone and their dog was like, I want a physical keyboard. Physical keyboard is the way to go. Don't take away my physical keyboard. I've had BlackBerries in the past. I've had all these things that have physical keyboards. And Apple says no. When they released that, when they first came on the PowerPoint and there was no keyboard, that was like the big thing. It was like, wait, it's all touch? People are going to hate that. You can't just touch a touch screen. And even after that, for years after that, and even to today, there still are some, but for years after that, other companies said that's not going to fly. No one's going to like that. We're still sticking to our physical keyboards, but look at what Apple didn't care. Apple was like, no, we're sticking to it, and that is the way. Look at all smartphones now. You will not see a keyboard on 99% of them. Yeah. Android, Windows Phone, iPhone, whatever it is. And that's just the example of Apple just not caring. And I love it. I love it that they are that cocky that they can say, you know what? We tell you what you want, which is perfect for me because I like, yeah, sure, tell me what I want, Apple. Because it makes the rumor mill fun because sometimes the rumor mill's kind of right. And sometimes there's like, oh, we didn't get that at all because
so
Apple
far
just,
off base.
First of all, they keep a pretty tight lip about things. And second of all, they're always surprising us with things that we never thought that a company would actually do.
Yeah.
And it's bit them in the butt a few times. I mean, there have been a few times where it's come back to haunt them and said, okay, you know what? Yeah, that's not what people wanted.
No, yeah.
But I think that's what makes them awesome.
Well, I mean, same thing. It's for a long time. I wouldn't say that I was a Android advocate. I only had one phone ever that ran on Android. I had BlackBerry before that because BlackBerry became cool for teenagers.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where all of a sudden, like when you have an Apple, they're very into knowing the psychology behind people and knowing what's intuitive and kind of understanding. They understand people before people do.
Right.
And they're very good at giving people something that's they may have thought, like you said, like you may think you need it, but Apple's like, guess what? We'll tell you what it is. And there are certain things like kind of with the iPhone 6, the 6 and 6 Plus with the thumb on the side. Sure, Android did that before, and I'm not saying like Apple took that or whatever, but it is a more kind of comfortable and intuitive thing. Your hand is already like this on the phone. Why have to like reach up and do that when you can just do that? It's
right.
Apple, one, taking from what other people have done and kind of adapting, but two, knowing that it's easier for people.
Right. Well, and sometimes taking what those other companies have done, but waiting until the right time.
Yeah.
When you look at Google Wallet has been out for a long time.
Yeah.
And then Apple says they kind of wait. Apple knows that in 2015, all the card readers are going to have to be replaced anyway with chip and pin. And they say, you know what, a year before would be a great time to release our Apple Pay, and we'll make it really easy to use. The Touch ID, they waited until they had Touch ID because they wanted to have that fingerprint, make it super easy. If you have to enter a password, you could have just gotten out your wallet by then. So they said, you know what, they waited until they had all their ducks in a row before they released Apple Pay, and it's been successful because of that. They waited till the right time in the industry, and they waited for the right time in their specific hardware lineup. Yeah. And I just like that because we were all telling them, Apple, we need a sort of digital wallet. And like, no, you don't, not yet. No, we're not doing it. And they just didn't do it. No. They didn't do it. But when they did come out with it, it works really well, and we like it. And all the actual companies out there, the merchants, jumped on board and just said, it's a good time to do it. So, okay, that's my favorite part about Apple. Do you have anything like specifically that you're like, you know what, this is why I like Apple, this is why I use Apple, this is why I think they're successful?
I mean, for me, I guess it would go back to being the first ones to really revolutionize MP3.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, for me, growing up, I really loved music. Sure, it wasn't the greatest music. Like, looking back at the CDs I owned, not good.
We all have those moments.
But it's just one of those things where it was finally the moment where I didn't have to ask my mom or my dad, can we go to Best Buy so I can look through the crappy music that I listen to and buy a $12 CD. It's like, no, I can connect to the internet in the hour that I had to connect to the internet because we had a time limit.
Oh, I think you're taking because of dial-up. I didn't mean it took that long. No.
Nope, we had a time limit. So
all the best parents did.
And it was one of those things that it's like you can just go on, download what you want. It doesn't even have to be a whole album. It can just be the one song, and you have your music. Sure, I act like this is a big deal. I didn't have an iPod until I was in 8th grade. Who cares? It was awesome when I had one.
Right.
But it was just one of those things where holy crap, I can take this music anywhere and not in a CD player that connects to my hand and doesn't fit into my pocket. Like, finally, it was something that's like easy. Just throw it in your pocket, have your headphones in, you're good to go.
Yeah, buying individual songs, doing it legally. The music industry gets money. I get my song. It's portable.
I could have cared less. I couldn't care less if the music industry had gotten money.
Right. I don't think any of us did at the time. It wasn't even a thought on our radar at the time. Look at all we were all using LimeWire and Napster and all that stuff. So
we never used those illegal downloading systems.
Yeah. Sure, we'll go with that. All right. But yeah, okay. So yeah, mobilizing, evolutionizing the music, download space, and how we carried around all of our songs.
Do you mean revolutionizing?
Revolutionizing. What did I say?
Evolutionizing.
Nope. Yep. Revolutionizing is the word I meant to use. That's why we have the journalism major here. You would think, never mind. We're not even going to go there.
No.
Yeah. I was just going to say, you'd think a law student would have a good grasp of their vocabulary, but sometimes it just evades me, especially when I go live. So, all right. So that is the core section. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of the switch up there. And like I said, I kind of want to go a little bit deeper into that another week that I'm going to plan out, which I'm pretty excited for. So be ready for that. All right, so now we are going to get into one tip of the week, and this is the part of the show that I told you I was going to quote Mac Geek Gab again. So again, the Mac Geek Gab podcast, find them on iTunes and everything like that. Full credit to them. They are amazing. It's where I get a lot of my information. So the one thing I want to talk to you guys about, because it was something that I experienced recently, and I had totally forgotten that I had this problem, and I had never actually thought of the solution that they thought of, and it's something I knew how to do, but I just didn't think of it at the time. So the case that they brought up was that the guy was in a hotel, and when you connect to hotel Wi-Fi, it like takes you to that homepage of theirs, and then you have to accept the terms and connect back out, right? Or at a coffee shop, this happens in a lot of different places. Well, what happened to this guy was that he got onto the internet and then he couldn't go to certain websites. So he would type in NewYorkTimes.com and it wouldn't take him there. Just go to a blank page. It doesn't know what to do. Some pages would work, some pages wouldn't. So the reason this all happens is so when you initially log on to a hotel Wi-Fi, a coffee shop, something like that, when it gives you an IP address, it tells your computer the DNS lookup. So whenever you type in a website, it does a DNS lookup to say, okay, this is what he wants. Now, what IP address do I go to get him where he wants to go? Well, those coffee shops and hotels, in order to lock it down, they change all of those to say, direct him back to this homepage so he can get out through our agreement to our internet. And sometimes when it connects you back, it doesn't reset those DNS settings. So when you would type those in, it's trying to redirect you to a page that no longer exists that you can't get to. So your computer's kind of stuck in this loop. And the problem is your computer stores that DNS information in your DNS cache. So it stores it all in there. So until that gets wiped, it's not like once it receives that information from the internet, it can't just reset it without you doing something. So the easiest way to do this, and it's called a DNS cache flush, is to simply just reboot your computer. So connect to the internet, connect to your hotel Wi-Fi, and then if you have this problem, just reboot your computer and that clears out the cache. And then when you reconnect, the network already knows your computer, so it gives you all the right DNS settings and you're good to go. Now there is a command line terminal that you can do. If you're comfortable in the terminal, there's a command line you can enter to do this, but honestly, the restart is probably just the easiest way to go. Yeah. But DNS settings is one of those things that can get a little hairy. And obviously there's a bunch of different DNS servers you can use. A lot of people use Google's DNS because they're usually up to date pretty quick. But a lot of times your internet provider will automatically direct you to there. So I leave mine. I have Cox for my internet service, and I can tell looking in my settings that I am redirected to the Cox DNS server. So it's just something that you guys might find useful at some point. I know that I've definitely been in that situation where I've logged into one of those and I just can't do anything. I can't get my mail. I can't do anything. So yeah, a DNS flush. That is all you have to do. Just simply reboot your computer. All right, let's move into that last segment of the show, which is Picks of the Week.
It's the Picks of the Week, baby.
Picks of the Week, the time of the show where Colin and I tell you guys about things that we've been using that we think you guys could use and enjoy, make your life easier, etc., etc. So, I think I'll take it first and I'll let Colin finish this up. So, the one that I have is TextExpander, and I might have mentioned this in a past show, maybe last year or so, but it's an application that's actually on the Mac and your iOS devices. And what TextExpander does is I'm going to tell you guys why and how I use it, and then you guys will kind of learn along the way. So every single week when I go to type in the show notes for this show, I have all of the same at the end. I have all the contact information, the links to the show, and that's the same every single week. So in the TextExpander app, I have all that put in there, and then you create pretty much just like a keyboard shortcut, almost like you would in any other program in Word or anything like that. So for me, I just type :endnotes, and TextExpander just populates all of that text in there for me every single week. Saves me tons of time instead of typing all that out or copy and pasting. Saves a lot of time. It can do really intelligent things, things that I haven't even thought of to do yet, but you can insert the date. So if you did like :date, it would enter today's date. You can have a signature block, a lot of different reasons to use TextExpander. And now that it's on iOS, makes things really easy in iOS, especially if you do business on your phone and emails that you constantly put in, maybe your disclosure at the bottom, anything like that. TextExpander is kind of a very versatile app. You can actually get the demo, and this is by a company called Smile Software. And Smile comes out with a lot of really good applications, but get the demo. And I don't know if it's a hack, or not a hack. I don't know if it's a mistake or what happened when I got TextExpander, but it just allows me to keep hitting demo. So it's supposed to be a 30-day trial, but for me, every time the trial expires, it just pops up again like, oh, do you want to try our demo? I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And so I will buy it eventually because it's so awesome and because I use it all the time. But yeah, you guys can get the free trial and try it out. But that's TextExpander, and it's by Smile Software. Just one of those things that if you find yourself typing a lot of the same stuff every single week or day, it's a good option for you.
Yep.
So,
am I going right into mine?
yeah, we're going right into yours.
Okay.
Jumping right into it.
Sorry, I just need to ask. My pick of the week is just it's a stupid game for, I think it might be on Android. I didn't check, but it's on iPhone. It's on Apple, which we talk about here. But it's called Triple Jump. It's by Catch App, who makes a lot of just very simple kind of just tap your phone games. And all it is, you're a little ball that's rolling along like a little path, and there's spikes in your way, and you have at most 3 jumps to get over them. And in any case, you can get over stuff in 3 jumps, and it's just
fun and addicting.
Oh, it's just the stupidest thing ever, and it's really frustrating when you mess up on something. You're like, this should be the easiest thing in the world,
right?
But it's just one of those things where I was gonna send it to you guys and be like, oh, what can you guys get? But I just don't want to compete against anyone. So.
I don't know if you guys all have this problem out in your friendship circles, but the problem with us is that we all will send each other one game, and then for the next week it's just constant like, oh, here's my high score, like, oh, here's my high score, screenshots of like our high score. It started out with threes was a one for a while, and
Mike and I got pretty cutthroat in that.
Pretty cutthroat. If you want, that was some dark times in our friendship. Was all revolving around the game Threes, which there you go. There's another pick of the week. If you haven't played Threes, that's an awesome game.
If you have not picked up Threes, it's been out for like a year and a half.
I think it's one of the best games I've ever played.
Oh, I constantly delete games off of my iPhone. I have never deleted Threes.
Well, it's one of those games, it's fun, and it's one of those that doesn't need an internet connection, so when you're on a flight, when you're doing, it's just a perfect game to always have on your phone.
It's just, everyone tries saying 2048 was the original game. No, Threes came out before that stupid game.
Are you bitter?
I am. Good. Everyone's like, oh, I play 2048. It's like, you play a free game that has ads. I play Threes that cost me $2.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's awesome. All right, so that is going to just about do it for the show. If you guys want to, no, we're not done. I know. I'll say it at the end again by mistake. But if you guys want any information on the show, OMNpodcast.com is where you can find everything, all the information, subscription links, everything like that. I did want to mention the newsletter. If you guys want this show delivered to your inbox every week, I write up a little tip of the week as well and a little intro to each email. Those go out on Saturday mornings. If you want that, you can find that over at omnpodcast.com. We got about 80 of you out there so far that get it. So if you guys want that, it's kind of an easy way to just be able to click on the show and watch it on YouTube or whatever you would want. If you guys want to support the show, we would love it. We're still doing that Patreon campaign, and that is omnpodcast.com/Patreon, which is Patreon. Again, for every 10 we get a week, we are going to give out the coffee mugs, but we haven't been getting that. So I don't know. We might not be giving out any coffee mugs, but we would love your support over there. Again, omnpodcast.com/Patreon, Patreon. Thank you to Roger over at WOMN Radio for everything he does for us and all the streaming. Would love to hear from one of you from Grafton. Would love to hear a tweet, an email, anything like that, or read it. I guess I'm not going to hear those. But so we'd love WOMNradio.com. And again, of course, the Amazon link. If you guys buy on Amazon, best way, free way to support OMN Podcast is omnpodcast.com/Amazon. Love it. Thank you for the support. We have gotten a lot more orders on there, which is great. I love to see you guys using that link. And hopefully Amazon's treating you well. I know it does me. I spend way too much money there, which is awesome. All right, so we're going to bring this thing in for a close. Colin, thank you again for coming back.
No problem.
Loving having you here. It's been awesome. We had him in studio today, so if you're not watching the video, we did have him in studio, which was kind of nice. It was a lot easier for me not having to fire up Skype and do all the audio routing and everything like that. So
Mike hit 3 buttons and was like, all right, and we're done.
And usually we're sitting there for like 5 minutes. I'm like, one sec, let me unplug stuff, plug back in. It was just a lot easier this week. I feel like there was one more thing I was going to mention, but I don't know what it is. Catch me Thursday nights as well on Mr. Jim Collison's show. That is Home Gadget Geeks, where we talk about everything just general tech, and that's over at theaverageguy.com. And, of course, this show, Tuesday nights, almost every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, omnpodcast.com/live. Come join us. We had a few people in the chat today. It was good having you guys here. And we will talk to you guys next week. But until we do, tech on.